Good afternoon and welcome to Specstorm channel. You may have noticed I haven't made a video in a long time. I was caught up. I was a little caught up in the specs of my channel and not enough of bringing the storm. I was trying to make this channel into something that I thought it needed to be, trying to make it perfect, trying to make it amenable to everyone. I didn't want to lose anyone on the basis of saying something that they might not agree with or that might put them off. I didn't want to come off like I didn't have my shit together, like I was some kind of amateur. But the reality is, I am an amateur. I'm an amateur doing what they love to do and doing what they want to do. And so from now on, this channel is going to be exactly the way that it's meant to be. And I'm going to speak and communicate and deliver things exactly the way that they are in my mind. And while I may edit it post production, I'm not going to filter myself. And if I lose people, so be it, because this stuff needs to come out, and it needs to come out raw and unfiltered and real and urgent, because this is an urgent time. And so that's my little disclaimer. If there's anything that I say that you don't like or that offends you, I encourage you to be open-minded, because we are running out of time. But if not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over losing you as a follower and as a listener, because this is a place to communicate what's really going on. There's flooding all over the earth. I've created a map on Google Maps. There's an enormous amount of flooding going on. And not just flooding, we have flooding and evacuations going on all over the world. If you just look at some of these flags, we have tornadoes every weekend. There's tornadoes rolling through the plains and the south. Right here, I'm not even going to talk about the animal attacks today. That's a whole separate issue. Cold snap in Bolivia brings rare snow to tropical farm region. This is June. Yesterday. No, that was today, Friday, the 16th of June. Storms knock out power to more than 100,000 people across the south of the United States, with high winds and at least 8 reported tornadoes. This is not a normal weather pattern for June, folks. Not at all. Texas being hit hard. You know what's in Texas? You know who lives in Texas? We have hail, extreme hail events. Always seem to be in these rural areas where there are farms and people trying to go off grid or just farm, not necessarily off grid, but just live a lifestyle where they are self-sustainable. And the timing of this, folks, is pretty interesting, because what do we have going on? We have all this talk about the rollout of central bank digital currencies. We have the collapse of the world financial system, the collapse of the dollar. It's a perfect storm, and all the dominoes, I shouldn't say are lined up, all the dominoes were lined up, and now they've been flicked and they are starting to fall. And we're over here worried about Taylor Swift and the keto diet. So it's time to get serious. That is the theme of today's episode. It is time to get serious. We don't have any time to waste. You know, it's been a very, very wild ride these last few years. We've had a lot of gaslighting. We've had a lot of opportunities to wake up, but we've had even more opportunities presented to us and thrown in our face to go back to sleep. And I'm guilty of that. I think we're all guilty of that to some degree. When the government just hands out free money, they put casinos everywhere, drugs flood the streets, people get distracted. It's easy to get caught up. And we had a chance in 2020 to get with the program, aka exit the Matrix program, or at least begin our journey of getting out of it. And some of us succeeded, some of us started and then backpedaled, and some of us never started at all. But many of us, I think, fall in the middle, where we realized something is off. This is not right. This doesn't just happen. You don't just shut down the world. I asked my grandparents, have you ever lived through anything like this? And they were fleeing the Nazis when they were like 6 years old. And they said, no, I've never seen anything like this. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. The world has been through so much, and yet now we're at this point where they can just shut down the entire world. Well, that was just the beginning, folks. Now it's go time. Now it's starting in earnest. And these storms, they're going to destroy our infrastructure. They're going to bring down the standard of living in the West precipitously. And all of these luxuries, all of these things that we've gotten used to, all of the services and safety nets and all of this stuff that's made us weak, it's made us flabby in a spiritual and psychological level. If you want to raise an animal for meat, you're not going to raise an elk, right? Or a moose. That thing will run you right over. It'll run through your car. It'll ram you. It'll trample you. It'll destroy you. You won't even be able to get near it, let alone kill it and eat it. And if you did, the meat would be so tough because it's tough. No, you would raise cattle because cattle are slow moving, defenseless, and flabby. And without us, they wouldn't even exist. So we have created cows and cultured and cultivated them and engineered them to become this being that we can just harvest, just come in and harvest. And that is what is being done to us. We're being made into flabby cattle that the powers that be can just swoop in and harvest, just erase out of his existence whenever they feel like. You're not going to harvest an elk or a moose. You can try to hunt them down, but you're going to be put through your paces. It's not going to be easy. So these people in Texas and in these places that are doing this stuff and farming and being hit the hardest, they are the ones that are trying to live out this archetype of the elk. And they are coming after them. June blizzard atop Pikes Peak in Colorado. This is the middle of June. Mid-June blizzard in Colorado in the Northern Hemisphere. I would love to hear your feedback on how this could possibly be normal. We've got earthquakes all over the place. No time to really go into that. There's been a major uptick, particularly in the South Pacific. Also, volcanism has skyrocketed in the South Pacific. The Mayon volcano in the Philippines, evacuations. Tonga, that region has been unstable for a long time. And of course, it's just arose by any other name. We have evacuations from volcanic activity, evacuations from flooding, evacuations from extreme storms and cyclones. Of course, all of this is possible to cause using one and the same technology. And that technology, as we've spoken about before, is atmospheric heaters, aka HARP technology. And this is free to look up, folks. You know, I don't really have time to go explaining the specs. Like I said, it's going to be a lot less specs on this channel and a lot more storm. I'm lighting a fire under in order to inspire people. That's my job, is to inspire people. I'm not going to give you the engineering manual to a volcano. I'm going to tell you, shit's getting real. We got to do something. We got to unify, and not in a new world order kind of a way, but a grassroots kind of a way. And we have to do something. We have to fight back. This is not a joke. This is no time. South Africa. So really the global South just absolutely being annihilated, just crushed by this geoengineering and weather weaponry, which of course makes sense because you would go for the areas that have the least infrastructure because it's so much easier to destroy and they're so much more vulnerable. Then you can swoop in. The IMF can start giving them loans and then all their natural resources, which we are indeed short on. That's the only part of this Church of Climatology narrative that's actually accurate, besides the fact that the air and the water are being polluted by human activity, aka corporate activity, is the fact that, yes, because of our megalomaniacal technocratic dreams of this woke tech utopia, we are draining the planet dry of things like cobalt, lithium, cadmium, silver, gold, everything used in electronics manufacturing. And we're just draining the planet dry. Especially the countries that need these resources the most are draining their own native or endogenous supply the fastest. And so that's why they need to go to places like Africa, They need to go to places like the third world and the global south and places like this and tell them, oh, you guys, oh no, a random storm just destroyed your whole country. Oh no, we feel so bad for you. We have so much sympathy for you. We totally didn't do this, and this wasn't planned at all. We totally didn't have a hand in this. We're just as shocked as you are. But we're so nice and we're so good and we're so altruistic that we're going to offer you these loans that you will never be able to pay back. And so as a result, you can just give us all these resources for pennies on the dollar, basically for free. Resources we wanted and needed anyway. Sound like a good deal? Great, because you have no choice, because your country was just destroyed by a cyclone. That's what we're looking at. Magnitude 6.2 earthquakes. Canadian wildfires been beaten. I don't like covering the mainstream stories, guys. I just don't. I don't like the water cooler talk. Turkey can't catch a break. Flooding. Dust storm in Karachi, Pakistan. Again, another theme, even here in the East Coast from these wildfires. We had essentially a sky blackout. This is a similar scene. These are symbolic scenes. All around the world, you have the sky being blotted out. All around the world, you have incredible amounts of rain, precipitation, and flooding. It's raining right now for like the third day in a row. Over here right now. I don't know if you can hear it. It's going to rain all weekend. And down south, they're getting slammed by another round of storms. This just happened a day and a half ago. They had a derecho that flattened a trailer park in Texas with tornadoes and Alabama and that whole region, that whole diagonal. And it's happening again. I want to be able to crawl into the mindset of someone who can say, well, it's climate change. Let's just happen. How much of a misanthrope do you have to be? How much do you have to dislike humanity to stay in that mindset? Do you want bad things to happen to people? Are you really that gullible? Have you really been brainwashed? And if this offends you, then I don't really care. Oh, conspiracies are for crazy people. Well, there's really only two viewpoints here. You have to choose, okay? One is, this is all just happening. The earth was chugging right along. Then we released some greenhouse gases, and totally in line with Al Gore and all of their religion of climatology, now the earth is just pissed, and she's sending storms to the same places multiple days in a row, places that have never had snowstorms in June. Nobody is conspiring to do anything. Nobody wants resources. And this is all just a big coincidence. And the alternative is that maybe there's some kind of funny business going on. Is that really such a leap? Look around. Look at these stories. I don't want bad things to happen to people. That's how they want us to think. That's how they want us to be. That's what they want us to believe. They want us to be divided over nonsense. It's us versus them, guys. And wealth is not going to protect you, because if you try fanning a tornado with your dollars or throwing gold bars at it, it's not going to do very much. And likewise, if you're one of those spiritual types that think you're just going to ascend to Shangri-La, I know I'm wearing a Buddhist shirt, that's funny, and you're just going to ascend to the 5D reality and escape all this, phase out of existence, well, I would like to see you try to stop a tornado or a flood or a tsunami with love and light. I would love to see that. I don't think either of those perspectives, relying on, if you have a bunker, if you're wealthy enough to build a bunker, then good for you, But if not, it's looking like collective action is really the only chance we got. And they're doing a great job of keeping us distracted. Exuma, Bahamas, Navy called in. So what's a trend here? What's a theme that we're seeing? We're seeing evacuations, military getting involved, and we're seeing international aid. Now, all three of those are what I would call boundary crossing events, where normally a weather event, a community is strong enough to recover from it on its own. When you have militaries being called in routinely all over the world, when you have the Red Cross needing to deliver aid, when you have governments and things like that, and disaster management agencies getting involved, this is setting a precedent just the same way that the precedent was set by a certain event in 2020 that was ongoing for a few years. You all know what I'm talking about. It's setting a precedent that this is so bad that the government needs to get involved, that the NGOs and the disaster management agencies and the military needs to get involved, which is setting a precedent that if something happens that is out of the control of the people, these people can step in, the powers that be, and take matters into their own hands. And all that needs to happen is for them to claim or them to determine that there is something going on. You'll notice this channel started when the Ohio event happened, this apocalyptic death plume in East Palestine, Ohio. Well, that's another facet of this, is that if the land is contaminated, then the government can come in and buy your land, force you to sell your land for a ridiculously low price because the land is contaminated by them. Spoiler alert. Flash flooding everywhere. Bulgaria, Wyoming, flooding in southern Colorado. Every article is flooding. Hail, Boulder, Colorado, June. Flooding South Trinidad. Summer downpour floods streets in Hanoi, Vietnam. Hailstorm causes damage in North Texas. That's a big hailstone. Baseball-sized hail. I would not want to be in the line of fire. Flash flooding in Paris. Downpours flood eastern Cuba. 14 inches of rain in 24 hours. Ivory Coast, deadly floods and landslides. 9.5 inches of rain in 24 hours. 3 die, farmland and trees damaged as storms sweep across China. I can scarcely think of a single continent that's not being touched by this. I mean, we've hit Bolivia, right? That's South America. We've hit Africa. We've hit Asia. We've hit, I don't know if we've hit Australia yet. It's coming up. We've hit North America. We've hit Europe. Pakistan. Again, Assam. Assam's India has just been getting annihilated. Bosnia. Japan hit by 6.2 earthquake. Smoke from wildfires reaches Norway and flows to southern Europe. Grandma never saw that. These sinkholes, this is going to have to be a separate episode, and I will go more into the science of how sinkholes, tornadoes, and extreme rain and storm events are connected. But I still need to do some research and put some things together, maybe even make a diagram to go into that. But these sinkholes are like the canary in the coal mine. Softball sized hail in Manitoba. Again, there are no leaves left on the trees. The trees were bending over as the ominous thunderclap rolls in right over my head. Giant cracks appear in road in Tianjin, China. Now, again, this type of stuff, this will come in a later episode, the cracks and the sinkholes. Tornado in Budapest, this is just ridiculous. I'm sorry. They do not have tornadoes in that part of Europe. You don't get tornadoes in Budapest. Are you kidding me? In June? Again, southwest China, 24.2 inches of rain in 24 hours. Look at this. Look at these people. This is just mind-boggling. And we over here in the United States are talking about basketball statistics. We've just become glazed over. Our attention focused on all the wrong things while they corral us into this little pen and then they flood the crap out of it and just do whatever they want to us. Iran. Again, this is, I mean, how many times is this scene going to be replayed of people knee or waist deep in water with their vehicles submerged, needing to be rescued in a boat? More tornado in Texas. More elephant attacks in India. We have Kilauea volcano erupting in Hawaii. Let's end on this story, folks. So this is a story of orcas, also known as killer whales. I'm just going to read this. This is from Tuesday, June 6th. A group of orcas recently nearly sank another sailboat in the Strait of Gibraltar and followed the vessel all the way to port, marking the first known case of killer whales stalking a boat after destroying its rudder. Orcas started behaving unusually and attacking boats in 2020. Sounds like 2020 was a weird time for all the different species. Since July 2020, there have been 744 reported encounters, 505 of which involved contact between the animals and the ship, according to the Atlantic Orca Working Group. 1 in 5 interactions have prevented boats from sailing, and 3 have ended in vessels sinking. Most of these interactions ended in the orcas losing interest in the boat once they'd broken its rudder. But during the recent attack on the night of May 24th, the orca pod continued to stalk the yacht Mystique, even after damaging the vessel. It is unclear whether this marks a shift in the orca's learned pattern of aggressive behaviors towards sailboats. So this is one area where I might agree with the climate people, is that whether it is because they're being influenced by this electromagnetic nonsense that's being pumped into our environment, or whether the animals are just fed up and they've just had it with humans, it does seem like there's a shift going on. They're coming after us. So that part of nature is coming after us. And I'm not ruling out the fact that the earth is getting a little sick and tired of humanity. I'm not ruling that out, but I think that we have some bad actors that it makes a lot more sense to point the finger at first. And ultimately, if you believe this narrative that, oh, it's just the earth and it's all our fault individually, it's my fault, right? Because I didn't recycle that Poland Spring bottle. It's your fault because you leave the lights on and leave the faucet on, while you're brushing your teeth. That brings the guilt onto us, onto the people, the responsibility onto the people, the individuals that are just trying to live their life. If we had a better way, if we had hydrogen or solar powered cars and everything, then we would be using it. We didn't choose fossil fuel. We didn't choose to have to pollute to heat our homes and use electricity, but they're saying it's our fault. These are the same people that are taking private jets to climate conferences. These are the same people that are telling us electric cars are better and safer and cheaper and more eco-friendly, and using slave labor in the Congo to mine the minerals that they need to build these damn things, as the batteries catch fire and explode and burn down grocery stores in Brooklyn, among other buildings. This is the choice that humanity is faced with right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're either on the side of humanity and life, or you're on the side of the death cult. It's a dark time. We're in a dark time. And, you can either waste your days trying to be perfect or feed into the consumerist machine and carve out your little niche within that world and worry about, your 401k, like as if the world is going to last long enough for you to collect that. Or you can go another way and you can say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to speak my mind, because the first people to speak their mind always look crazy. But you know what? There are more and more and more of us every single day. So that's the choice. You want to be on the side of life? Take off the mask. Maybe say some things that are going to raise a few eyebrows. Maybe say some things that might make you a little unpopular at the water cooler. Maybe it'll bring you a little peace in your heart and your soul, because you know that you are speaking the truth, as opposed to trying to fit in with the herd of cattle that are about to be harvested by the sharks. Thank you for viewing my channel. I wish all of you a blessed day. Please be well, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.